Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Digital Commando show. You might notice a little change today in that I'm not Stefan Wesley. Stefan's moving house today, so he's asked me to stand in. It's Web Wednesday, so today we're going to be talking about what makes a great website, how to drive traffic to that website, and in a change from the usual topic, we're not doing brand and affiliate marketers because I know nothing about it. So we're going to talk about things to avoid when building your website. One thing I would ask, if you enjoy the show, if you get any value from it, if you could pay it forward, share it, or tag somebody that you know that might like it or get something from it, that would be brilliant. Our guest today is Darren Jamieson from Engage Web. I'm going to bring Darren in now and get him to introduce himself. Morning, Darren. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you. For the viewers, do you want to just share a little bit about who you are, what you do for a living, and how they can get hold of you?
What I do for a living right now, I'm a professional drinker. But no, my name's Darren. I am the technical director of Engage Web. We are a digital marketing agency based in Ellesmere Port. We're now in our 11th year, which for our industry is fairly unheard of. And we help people get more business via the internet, ranging from one-man bands to global companies in 4 countries. We also supply other agencies with content, being a copywriting agency at source.
Fantastic. So you've got a little bit of experience in the area we're talking about today. So we'll jump into the first talking point, which is what makes a great website. And I know I've seen some terrible examples in some work I've been doing this week. So it'd be great to hear from you and hear what you think makes a good website.
Oh, woof. Well, how long have we got? Most people think that a great website is about the design and the look. As a web designer, originally, you might expect me to go along with that, and that how something physically looks is the most important thing. But it's not. I've seen beautifully designed websites that are useless, and I've seen absolutely hideous websites that are brilliant. I liken it to a film, The Extraordinary League of Gentlemen. It's a great looking film. It's a beautiful looking film, but ultimately it's absolute dross because it doesn't work as a film. If you've got a beautifully designed website where somebody cannot do what it is you want them to do, then no matter how nice it looks, it's a complete failure. The first thing you should do when designing a website is think, what do I want people to do? What is the purpose of this website? Is it to get people to buy a product? Is it to get people to fill in a contact form, to download something, to enter a funnel? That is where you start, and that is what everything about that website should be designed towards. An example of it, I've not seen it for a few years, is the website Ling's Cars, if you're familiar with that one. Is that something you've heard of?
I don't think I've seen that one, although I think I've heard you talk about it before.
Oh, quite possibly, quite possibly. Ling's Cars is infamous. It is built like a website from 1992. It's got every bit of animated, I hope it hasn't changed now if anybody looks at it and I'm completely wrong. It's got every bit of animated graphics on it you could possibly imagine. It looks like Homer's first web page when he builds a website on The Simpsons. Everything's just flashing and moving around, and it is awful. But it is so good for the purpose of which it's been built, which is to get people to talk about it, to get people to link to it, to get people to go to it. And it is the best piece of viral marketing you could possibly get. If they design that to be a beautifully looking website with some lovely cars, because they do car leasing, a beautifully looking website, then it would be utterly pointless because it would just blend in with everybody else's. As an example, to go back when I started in web design back in 1999, 2000, Jesus Christ. In 2000, I worked for a company at the time called Electronics Boutique, who older games players out there may know who that is. They became Game, who they are today. And Electronics Boutique bought Game, and I was the web designer for them. And they had 2 websites, one for Electronics Boutique, one for Game. And they were essentially exactly the same website. The back end was identical. It was powered off the same database. It was the same code. It was the same processing. But it was the visual of the websites were different. Now, the Electronics Boutique website was done in a standard e-commerce type website. So it was a light background. The navigation was on the side and there was a navigation at the top. The product image was to the left. The price was to the right. The buy button was underneath it. Very, very straightforward, vanilla by the numbers website. The game website, they tried to do something a little bit different with. They tried to be a little bit quirky. So it was done in a sort of the old style game branding of everything was made for gamers. There was some dark colors in there. It was unusually positioned navigation. And it was just basically what you would not expect to work from an e-commerce perspective. But despite the fact they were identical back-end websites with almost identical pricing, one had free delivery, one was £1 more expensive. The game website was being outsold by the Electronics Boutique website by about 4 to 1. And it was all because of the way the site was done. So obviously, based on this data, everything was changed so that the two websites used the same design. And that is the important thing. It's not about try to make something that looks really cool. Try to make something that looks fabulous, that looks different. Trying to make something that works different isn't a good thing. You know, if you're trying to get people into a sales funnel, for example, so that you want someone to land on the page, you want them to see what the offer is, and you want them to opt into the offer, you don't want to do something that's different. Because if you do something that's different, it's not going to work. You want to know what works, what has got the highest percentage of probability that they're going to take the offer that you want. That's what a website should be. It should be made to work, not made to look a little bit nice. So that's
very interesting. You're talking about something there that I think it's almost user interface design, which I studied a little bit at university, and it's no coincidence that every kind of productivity office type application has the same kind of menu structure, the buttons in the same place. So if you go between, you know, Microsoft Word and Microsoft Excel, all the standard stuff is in the same place. But equally, if you jump into Google Sheets or OpenOffice or LibreOffice, any of those, or something on the Mac, everything is so similarly organized, people can find it. It's a comfortable way of navigating and getting around. And if stuff is just in a weird place, I remember 2007 when Microsoft changed Microsoft Office from the old sort of icon based thing, and they did the ribbon toolbar, and that properly messed with my head for ages because everything had changed. And if it's got to be the same when you're interacting with the website. If stuff is where you expect it to be, you'll find it. I always say this: make it easy for people. It's got to be easy when you visit my website for you to do what you came here to do.
Exactly.
We don't want you faffing around for 20 minutes trying to find the information you want, or find the product you want, or find the telephone number. Because otherwise, if you can't do what you want, you'll go somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly.
For me, it's as simple as that.
Yeah, it is. Because we actually had a client once. I won't name them. We actually had a client once that was designed by committee. And we did the design for them, and this went through their committee, and they came back with a load of amends that they wanted for this design. And one of the things they said was, a member of our committee has said that we don't like the contact link being in the navigation. Can we take that out because we think it's messy? Can we take that out and just have the 3 buttons in the navigation? I said, well, yeah, we can do that. We can. But how's anybody going to contact you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we didn't think of that. All right, leave it in then. And that's an extreme example. But there are things like that all the time where people try to do something that is quirky or different or unusual or something that they like with a website that just makes it impossible to use. And it's not about what the design looks like. It's not about making something beautiful. You're not creating art. You're not creating a masterpiece. You're creating something that has to function. You're creating something that, if it's not getting you business, then what's the point in it being there? So if it's difficult to use, as you say, if somebody comes into the website and they're looking around, think, well, how do I make an inquiry on here? They'll click back, then the next one on Google, and they'll go into them, and they'll make the inquiry with them, because guaranteed their website will be laid out so that it's easy to inquire if yours isn't.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I built. I'm not a web designer at all. but I built a website for the taxi company that I ran. And that's what I had in mind. Somebody lands on this page. I want to make it easy for them just to book a taxi. So there was a book now button to book online. There was a telephone number, and there was a call button that just pasted the phone number into your call app on your phone, so that they got a way of getting in touch straight away. And it worked. People landed on the website and they called and they booked online. And it's as simple as that. Was it brilliantly designed? Was it an amazing website? Of course it wasn't. I did it. But it worked. It was functional, and it won tens of thousands of pounds worth of business. So yeah, absolutely agree with you. So moving on to the second point, which is once we've got a website that's functional, that looks pretty good, it does what it's supposed to do. How are we going to get people to visit it? How do we drive traffic to a website?
Oh, well, that's the $1 million question, isn't it? That is the $1 million question. And that's where you get a lot of people who talk about SEO, whether or not they know anything about it. That's probably the main reason that the SEO industry has got such a bad reputation. There are so many people doing it who don't actually know how to do it. So when web designers build a website, the client then says to the web designer, could you SEO the website for me? Yeah, all right. Yeah. I'll quick Google on that. How do you SEO a website? Oh, it's keywords. Okay, yeah. Keywords in the meta tags. Keywords in the title. Yeah, I've SEO'd the website. Yeah, that's 150 quid or 50 quid a month or whatever it is they want to do, and that is the problem. And then people say, "Oh, I tried SEO. You know, I used this guy for SEO, and I didn't get anything from it. It just didn't work." Well, of course it didn't work, because the person you used to do SEO doesn't know how to do it. And that's the issue. There's no qualification for this, because there can't be, because it's constantly changing. If you were to do a qualification for SEO, by the time you actually took a course and graduated, everything that you'd learned would be completely out of date anyway. SEO itself isn't about keywords. It isn't about rankings. It's got nothing to do with rankings. It's about getting people to the website and getting them to do what you want them to do when they get there. That's digital marketing. That's what everything is about. And one of the main ways we do that is through content. It's all about the content. Now, it's an old adage. We used to say this in game back in 2001, that content is king. So when we were building the game website and we were adding stuff to the game pages, I think Grand Theft Auto Vice City was out. Vice City, I think, came out when we were there, and it was the biggest selling game of the year. What we wanted to do to make sure that our page for Grand Theft Auto Vice City was better than Tesco's and better than Sainsbury's and better than, what else was there at the time? Game Station. HMV Virgin, yeah. Blockbuster, I think, might have still been doing it then as well. To make sure ours was better, we were filling it with content. We were filling it with reviews of the game. We were filling it with original write-ups of the game, because you couldn't have the product description as supplied by the manufacturer, because that's the same on every other website. It's not going to rank. It needs to be unique. So we had a unique product description. We had unique reviews. We had unique features. We had loads of screenshots. We had videos. We had everything on that page that you could possibly want for that game, so that when you searched for it, we were at the top. And that is how it works. If you want your website to rank, or a page on your website to rank, it needs to be the most thorough resource for that particular phrase or service or whatever it is that you want than anywhere else on the internet. And if you look at your page and say, is that the best page it can be for that particular phrase I want it to rank for? No, it isn't. Then there's no reason it should rank for that. So we do it with content. So we've read, I think we're right in the region of 1,500 to 2,000 blogs per month for clients based around the UK, America, Canada, and Australia. And we don't do that just because it's about churning out content. Everything is geared towards particular combinations of phrases and what people are searching for. We look at what the client does. We look at what their potential clients or customers have as a problem and how they solve it. Because that's one of the big things. People like web designers, for plumbers. Let's take plumbers, for example. They'll stick on their website a list of their services. We do this, this, and this. We do boiler installations. We do boiler maintenance. If you're sat at home and you've got a Valent boiler that's got a particular light that's flashing on it, you're not instantly going to go, oh, I need a plumber. It's electrical. Do I need an electrician? Do I need a plumber? Do I need a wet plumber? Do I need a gas engineer? I don't really know who is going to solve this problem for me. So what you'll do is you'll put the problem into Google, not gas engineer or plumber. You'll put in the make of the boiler and the light is flashing and what the problem is. And if your website doesn't have that particular problem that a customer has explained on your site, and this is what it is, this is what it means, this is how you fix it, which by the way is contacting us and we'll come out and sort it for you, then you're not going to rank for that. It's about writing all of the different things that you solve as a client for your potential customers. And that's where content comes in.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So what you're saying is, and I know Stefan's talked about this on the show. He's talked about in relation to having an FAQ on a website. And there's no point in putting an FAQ on the website that doesn't answer actual questions that your customers really ask.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point of the blog content, I guess, is to answer the questions the customer is asking. So when they ask about the Valent boiler, they land on your website, they get an answer and go, oh, I'll ring this guy. The phone number's there. Hiya, Steve. Can you come and look at my boiler for me? There you go. Yeah. You've won your customer, job done. When I was running the taxi company, I wrote a blog about Uber, who obviously there's a lot of contention around that. And I'm not going to get into a rant about Uber now, I promise.
Oh, go on. Do
it. However, basically, I was cross at the way they were trying to break into Chester without using the proper licensing. They were trying to circumvent the licensing laws. And basically, my blog was quite balanced insofar as it just said that I wasn't opposed to them necessarily, but only if they stick to the rules that I had to stick to. And I wrote the blog, posted it, forgot all about it. It got quite a lot of traffic. And then a customer rang up to book an airport transfer. And he said, you know the reason I booked with you? I said, go on, tell me. He said, it was because you wrote the blog about Uber. And he said, I thought it was going to be really scathing and horrible. He said, and it was a nice, balanced kind of thing. And I liked your attitude. And I thought, well, there you go. I've shown what I really think about something. And the customer's gone, that's quite nice. I like that. I'll book because of it. And I guess that was about talking about something that was topical and newsworthy in the industry, more than necessarily solving a problem. But topical and newsworthy content is really important. So, I guess, an IT support company over the last few months could have been posting all sorts of things about home working and webcams and audio setups and stuff like that people would have been looking for and searching for and trying to deal with.
No, that's a great point, particularly when you mention news there, because one of the things we've been doing for our clients a lot lately is getting them into Google News as publishers. Right. It used to be, 10 years ago, it was, I wouldn't say easy. Google News wasn't so strict on the type of sites that it accepted, so it would accept commercial websites, but the technical requirements were quite stringent. It made those a lot stricter over the years, so that it made that you couldn't actually be a commercial website and get into Google News. It wanted people that were strictly news-based, strictly content-based. It was stopping any sort of commercial site getting in. Then recently, a few months ago, it launched its Google News app. It changed the whole system, the whole way that it's integrated. There's the Google News Publisher Console, and it became a lot easier to get websites into Google News, any sort of commercial website, although the technical requirements are very specific. So you have to make sure you tick all of the boxes. But to get into Google News now, as a publisher, so long as you're writing content regularly and it's good quality content and your technical requirements are met, you'll get in. And the benefits of being in Google News are huge. We've seen sites with thousands of visits a day just from one particular post that was perfectly specific and relevant to that day.
Yeah.
Because the rankings you get are incredible.
The news item that was really important on that day.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I guess, the thing that should have been happening this weekend is Vision Express and Specsavers should have been going hard for something this weekend, because wow, that was just such a massive news story that on the social media, on the blogs, that would have been a wonderful opportunity to get huge amounts of traffic to a website.
Oh, well, the good thing about Specsavers is they've done such a great job with their branding over the years that this weekend they could literally just sit back, put their feet up and watch as everybody used their branding across all of social media, because that's what you do. It's companies like that have that level of branding. Oh, they've done the hard work already. It's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely stunning. And the other thing you said quite early on in the beginning of that piece was about unique content.
Yes.
And it's not, whenever I've talked to a lot of people about SEO over the years, and they tell me all sorts of different things. However, the one thing that I have heard was from everybody is that content must be unique, because otherwise, if it's the same or similar, it becomes way more competitive.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, one of the biggest things we do actually is we work for other digital marketing agencies that work with high profile brands that we as Engage Web wouldn't get in the door. They wouldn't, we couldn't pick up the phone to these kind of clients, high street clients, and get in touch with them. But we work with agencies that work directly with these clients. And when they take on a client, for example, this isn't one of them because I can't mention who they are because of NDAs. But for example, say Marks and Spencer's. If you took on Marks and Spencer's as a client, the first thing that you would do as a big agency is you would do a complete review of their website. You would look at all the content on their website. And if you found out that they had, say, 30,000 product pages on the site that were exactly the same as they were from John Lewis or the same way were from Debenhams or other sites that have the same products, you would need all of that content rewritten to be unique. Otherwise, it's not going to rank. And they can't do that in-house. They can't say, right, we need 30,000 product pages, rewritten. Let's get our content team. Oi, Dave, rewrite. They haven't got the staff for that. So they outsource it to companies like us, which is why we take on these projects, often over a period of, say, 4, 5, 6 months, doing, say, 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 a month. And then we will get all of these rewritten. And it is a real skill, not a skill that blesses you with social skills, to rewrite the same thing over and over again, dozens and dozens of different ways. You find yourself going absolutely mad doing it, but it is something that has to be done and has to be done well, and it has to be unique. So we use copy checking tools, for example, to make sure that everything that we produce isn't duplicate, because if it is, if we were to add duplicate content to somebody's website, we would be damaging their website. And we can't allow that to happen. It's something we can never allow to happen. So we check every piece of content that comes through us to make sure it's not duplicate before it goes onto a client's website or it's passed across to the agency that we write it for.
Yeah, and that's probably using some similar software to something I used to use as a teacher to check students' work for plagiarism. And literally, you'd upload their assignment, and it would go, "There's a 85% match."
Yeah,
and it just give you the web reference or the textbook or whatever.
Yeah, and exactly the same sort of thing.
Go and do it again. Yeah, exactly. Fantastic. Right, Sarah Higgs has just asked, what was the story that we were talking about? Sarah, it was Dominic Cummings going for a drive to check his eyes were okay while he had COVID-19. Absolute disaster.
Yeah.
Right then. Moving on to things that make websites terrible or things that you should avoid. I feel like there's a rant inside you here, Darren.
Oh, there's many rants inside me here, but this one, oh my word. Not so much make a website terrible. The thing you can do that can absolutely cripple your website, I have seen time and time again, it's when people get a new website designed. So they've got a website, they've got good rankings, they've got good content, everything's great about the website, but they want it redone. They think, right, we want a new brand, we want it freshened up, we're going to get somebody to redesign this. And they get a web designer to redesign it. Now, he may be a very good web designer, he may be an okay web designer, he may be a rubbish web designer. Quite often, if he doesn't understand SEO, if he doesn't understand digital marketing, it doesn't matter how good he is, he's going to make a complete kibosh of it. And I've seen this not so long ago with a client who had their website designed, and it was a really nice redesign. It was a great looking website. If we had designed a website like that, I'd have gone, yeah, that's one for the portfolio. That's great. But all the rankings gone. Why? Because they took the website, they didn't import all of the content, they just ditched it. And then they designed the new website with new URL structures, so new architecture, didn't redirect anything. So those hundreds and hundreds of pages they had in Google, all of those things that people were searching for, all of those problems I talked about earlier that this particular client solved, were gone. Like that. Gone overnight. So they were all 404 errors. So they all filtered out of Google. So they got no traffic. They got no inquiries. So they're left with a really nice looking website. It really is a nice looking website. But all the work that had been done over the years, getting them all of these rankings, getting them this place within Google, as they had featured snippets. I don't know if I should explain what featured snippets are, but they had featured snippets. Yeah, the boxes at the top of Google, position 0.
Yeah.
Where Google says this is the most relevant source on the internet for this particular query of anything. This is where you go for the answer to this. They had those. Gone.
Right.
Deleted. And I've seen that time and time again where companies get their websites redone and they do not think at all about what to do with the content they already had or the URL structures they already had. I've seen it with I don't know if I should mention the agency because they might work. It's a big London company, very big company. Right. So they had thousands of pages with different listings on these pages. And they got the whole thing redone, changed, complete structure change. Nothing was redirected. So everything disappeared. And they wondered why their traffic disappeared overnight. I said, well, what's happened? Well, look what you've done. You've basically just erased your website from Google and said, right, try and find it again, Google. It's like taking your website, running away with it and hiding it in a cupboard and going, right, Google, see if you can find that.
Yeah, as soon as you started to talk then about having a website redesign and that being a problem, I knew exactly where you were going to go with that. Because even though it's not something I've seen, because I don't really do that sort of thing, it just seems obvious to me that if you were to redesign a website, keep the URLs the same, fine, add more by all means. And if you're going to change the URLs, put some redirects on them. And you've got some good base content that you've built up over the years that served you well, that's brought you traffic and customers and clients. Well, let's keep using it. Let's keep it. We can add to it by all means. We can tweak some little bits of it, but it's obviously not done a bad job thus far. So let's keep using it.
Yeah. It's the equivalent to McDonald's if overnight they moved all of their stores. Yeah. Overnight, they all moved and they didn't tell anybody they'd moved. So people went to McDonald's. It's gone. Where is it? And they've got to try and find it again. It'll be utter madness. Or if they move them all, but they cut them by 90%. That's effectively what they've done.
And didn't put the big yellow arches outside.
I didn't put the big yellow arches outside. No, they covered those over. They hid those.
Yeah. So you literally it just looks like a closed diner. Like, what is it? You don't know it's McDonald's because it's not got the branding on it. Yeah, that's amazing. And I bet that happens all the time as well. I bet people do that. Because I guess the average person in the street probably doesn't think about that. They don't think about asking that question of their web designer. I don't quite understand why web designers don't realize that, but
well, that's because here we go. That's because most web designers aren't actually web designers. They are either, well, not so much now, but it used to be they were print designers that got into web design, because I knew maybe about 15 years ago, design was very much it's a print thing. You've got to be a designer thing. You've got to be an Adobe InDesign user or a Illustrator user to do a website. If you don't do brochure layouts, you can't do a website. And it's a completely different medium. It's a completely different discipline. I'm not going to have that rant right now, but I really could. I'm close. I could. But these days, it's less about graphic designers and print designers doing websites. It's more about people who go, ooh, Wix, that's easy to use. Yeah, I can do somebody's website. Or one-on-one Ionos. I can use that. I can do someone's website, or I can do your GoDaddy website for you, or whatever it is they decide to use as a drag and drop website builder. They don't understand the technical aspect. They wouldn't know a line of JavaScript if you slap them in the face with it. So they're not going to understand how to redirect content or why it's important. They are not web designers. They are just people who can use a computer. Yet they charge their services as web designers, and people pay them. That's the frightening thing. People pay them to do it. And I see this again and again, and I don't understand. It's why people go, well, I had a website and it didn't do anything for me, or I used SEO and it doesn't work. That's the problem. If I hired a plumber who just walked in off the street and said, well, I've never fitted a boiler before, but I'll have a go, and he did it, and it blew up my house, I'd go, well, plumbers are rubbish, aren't they? They don't know what they're doing. Well, of course, this one doesn't, and that's the same thing, and it really infuriates me.
Yeah, and good comment from Stefan, who normally hosts the show. The amount of agencies forget to connect the same Google Analytics account and submit an XML to Webmaster Tools. Like, it's really basic stuff, but it makes such a difference. And I guess that's where you come in with your experience and knowledge, and hopefully you get to people before it screws up their ranking.
Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully.
Fantastic. That's been a brilliant show today, Darren. I've really enjoyed talking to you, and I've enjoyed the rant. It's been fabulous. Do you just want to quickly remind everybody who you are, where you come from, and how they can get in touch with you if they want some web design or SEO services?
Yep, if you want web design, SEO content, or more rants like this, it's Darren Jameson from Engage Web. That's engageweb.co.uk. You can follow us on Twitter with the same handle, Engage Web, or Facebook, Engage Web. And we are based in Ellesmere Port by Cheshire Oaks, which at the moment is a ghost town. So you don't want to go there yet.
Isn't it just? I was up there the other day. It was weird. It's really bizarre.
Easy to park, though. Easy to park.
Yeah, for a change, unusually.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Darren. I really appreciate your time today.
No problem.
And thank you very much, everybody, for watching. Thank you for your comments and your interaction. I've really appreciated it. We'll be back tomorrow with Thursday Thanks, which will be hosted by Stefan as usual. Hopefully, he'll be in his new house with some internet access. Fingers crossed. End of show dance. There we go. End broadcast.